And
All
we're live. What's going on, Simos? It's a cold, frigid day in Toronto.
And we've paid the price in technology. Technology was buggy this morning.
Oh, yeah.
So I would like to say a huge good morning to everyone all over the country. Good morning, REC Nation. Good morning, REC Insiders. Definitely pipe in to where everybody's coming from and joining us this morning.
Welcome to Brunch.
Yeah.
Brunch with REC. We obviously took a weekend off last Saturday, as we do every other Saturday. So make sure that you join us, not this coming Saturday, but on the 27th of February. Today is February 13th. It's a big day tomorrow. It's Valentine's Day, my friend. I hope you've already taken care of what you're going to be getting your beautiful, beautiful wife. I'll be doing the same as well. It'll be Sunday. Get to relax with the family. I mean, it's the one day that both of us tend to chill out and relax with the family. But as Simos mentioned, please take a second right now. Let us know where you're signing in from. We always like to know where our friends are coming in from and our insiders. If you're new to our family, welcome to the REC family. And if you're watching the recording, make sure that you're an insider where you get kept up to date with market stats, content, exclusive opportunities. I know Tyler's here as well in the comments section. And all you got to do is go to recinsiders.com. That's www.recinsiders.com. So you can stay up to date with, again, trends, market stats, exclusive opportunity, all the content, the recording of these brunches as well. We make sure that we send out a recording. But Simos, we got a treat for people today. We're going to have a good friend of the REC's coming to join us in about 7 or 8 minutes. I'm very excited to have him join us. But why don't we take a minute to go through our real estate corner for anybody who's new? What both Simos and I like to do at the start of the brunches is talk a little bit about what happened in the real estate world in the past week here at REC. We have 41 real estate agents on our team, 11 support staff, and to kind of give you a live look into what's happening in the market, like what sold this past week with our team, as well as what new listings we put up. And I think it's a good idea, right, Simos? I mean, the feedback that we've been getting has been very positive because it gives everyone an idea, like what are actual condos going for, what are homes going for,
and it really does, because we have both. In this case, it's 2 weeks of data because we skipped last week. So we have a whole lot of data. We picked the top examples that we could. We had our director of administration, Shem, go through and pick a couple from each of the markets that we feel really represent what's happening on the street. So we have the solds, and we also have the new listings that the team has listed up. I'm actually, after this brunch, heading down to the junction. I'm listing a commercial residential property, which is a gem. And I do want to say to our entire audience, if anybody's looking for a beautiful income property, I'm listing a retail commercial on the bottom, and upstairs it has a beautiful apartment. It's right now set up as one single big apartment. This could easily be very roomy, 2 bedrooms, and we can have a massive value add there. It's going to be listed at probably around 1.9, and it's smack dab in the heart of the junction. So one of the most up and coming, trendiest neighborhoods in the city. This could be a beautiful play for anyone. If anybody's looking for a joint venture, again, like this property got my personal attention. If anybody wants to take a look at joining forces with myself, Jazzy, or putting this on your own or together with other investors, feel free to reach out and see how that could possibly work. But yeah, we have some really cool new listings that we can go over. Jazz, do you want to start with the solds? Do you want to start with the new listings?
You know what? Because I was just pulling it up on my phone right now. I have the new listings pulled up right now. And the first one that I was going to talk about was a detached 2-story that was listed by one of our agents, Marlene. This was, a detached 2-story in Ajax, listed for $870,000 essentially, detached 2-story, 870,000 in Ajax. I mean, I've been doing this for 16 years now, and I know some of my clients probably about a decade ago that got in there for 330, 340,000, and now it's interesting to see what the values are for anyone who's new to real estate. This is what happens. You purchase a property, you invest into a property, you live in a property, and this is what happens to value. So right now, again, a detached 2-story in Ajax listed for $870. Why don't you talk about the next one, Simos?
Yeah, man. So it's we have 1569 Simcoe Street in Oshawa. It's a townhouse. That actually, it's funny. It was listed yesterday, and it was sold yesterday because I was a part of that deal. Peter Sony from our team listed an assignment that is right at University Towns. Ironwood Towns in Oshawa. We sold a few to some REC insiders last year. Those are already trading like hotcakes. This probably went about $75K over what they bought it for last year. So the market out in Durham is, when I say steaming hot, it's piping hot. Less than 15 days of inventory live. We'll see what the stats come out with at the end of the month. But right now, as we know, live, there's less than 15 days of inventory, creating, of course, prices to move upwards, and people to consistently be disappointed and not being able to win. It's multiple offers everywhere.
You know what I suggest right now, Simos? Why don't we go kind of rapid fire through these listings and sold? Because I know our guest is joined us, and so I want to make sure, because I have a feeling, this feeling that our insiders are not here to see the two bald heads that they see on the screen right now. Like, I think I'm a good-looking Indian guy. I think you're a good-looking Greek guy, but I have a feeling they're here to see someone else. So I don't want to keep them waiting. Definitely don't want to keep him waiting too long. We're gonna go rapid fire. You spoke about
Oshawa.
The Oshawa townhome. We have a detached 4-level back split listed by Mark Gano on our team. 700,000 in Barrie. 700,000 detached. Just so you guys get an idea of what values are. You go next, Simos.
Yeah. So you did Barrie, Georgian Bluffs. We have some vacant land lots. Those are to build cottages on. Anybody looking for either waterfront or water view, I know the lots, they're elevated. Not a single lot you buy there, if you're looking to build and or create Airbnb or vacation rentals, is not going to have a beautiful water view. And that's brought to us by our amazing VP of Commercial Services, Jacob Campanero.
I can jump over to the solds for this past week. I didn't bring up the past 2 weeks, Simos. I just only brought up this past week.
Fine.
And I wanted to highlight the two solds this past week. Jelaine Ma on our team, 150 Sudbury, that's King and Strawn, downtown Toronto, condo apartment, 150 Sudbury, townhome, $640,000 that just sold for. It's funny because I my first condo that I bought was like a stone throw away from 150 Sudbury. I purchased it for, and I know the same, it's very similar in terms of square footage. I purchased that for $339,000 in 2010, and now I'm seeing the value here come in at about.
And it's nice to see the prices solidifying and going back up, because there was 100%. That blip in the last 9 months. It had gone down to about, that condo would have went for about 600,000 about 3 months ago. Yeah, we're back up to 640, and we'll shoot through the roof over this year again.
And maybe next week, not next week, the week after the brunch, we'll start to talk about kind of the rebound that we're seeing specifically in downtown Toronto for condos, because definitely during the lockdown, that was one spot that took a dip by about 9 to 10% on values. But I think now we're hovering around 5 to 6% when you compare it to pre-COVID numbers. Why don't you talk about the Stouffville townhome?
2-story townhome, 890,000. No surprise there. Richmond Hill is trading at about 1.1 to 1.3. The minute you head a little bit north, you're looking at that again, driving to qualify. You can get a beautiful, these are all executive luxury towns in these markets. So you can see easily the difference from Richmond Hill to Stouffville, to Newmarket, to Aurora. You're looking at that 900,000 price range to 1.3. Christina Astorga did a tremendous job for us. That was an REC insider that sold it. and it went for 890,000. Great job, Christina. Congrats to your client.
And congrats to everyone else on our team. Congrats to the insiders that are watching. I know I said this in our past brunch, but a little over 34 of our insiders got into our last investment opportunity. I guess that would have been February 4th or 5th that we launched that. And a massive, massive congratulations to 34 of our REC insiders that got into our Bowmanville project. It's nice to see that new prices have come out and they've been increased already. And so you're already winning with that strategy. That was a pre-con strategy. Let's bring in our boy, someone that we've been blessed to know and been part of his community, been part of our community, now coming up to, I think, a little over 7-8 years. You guys get to see him and seen him on so many shows on HGTV. He's the star of those shows on HGTV, as well as the executive producer. It is none other than Mr. Scott McGillivray. How are you doing today, my man?
Yes, sir. I'm doing pretty good, just hanging out like the rest of you. It looks like you're in the office, Jas.
I am. I was joking. Not sure if you were in earlier, but I was saying there's no way our insiders are coming to here to look at our two faces. It's obviously yours, brother, and that beautiful hair of yours.
Well, just trying to keep it all together here while the world's in a strange place.
How is your family and friends and colleagues? Everyone's safe? Like everyone made it through so far?
No, thanks for asking. I know we've kind of kept up to date with everything, but other than just kind of frustrated, everybody's fine. There's lots to do. Never a dull moment. Whenever everything else slows down, I kind of speed up. So we've got a lot of interesting things, announcements we'll be making in the coming weeks with new shows. I mean, content consumption is way up, obviously, with everyone at home. So we have, but it's the double-edged sword. Like, they want more episodes, but we're filming at half speed because we keep getting shut down and all that sort of stuff. But I can't complain. I know there's people who are having much more difficult situations. Being a real estate investor, this has not been all that bad. In fact, I agree. The pandemic has been pretty good to all of us real estate investors in terms of what we're seeing with our portfolios. I think the biggest challenge is, capturing new opportunities. I would say in the 21 years of investing, I've never seen such aggressive purchasing. I put in an offer on a place last week. It literally, the place came up for sale at 9 a.m. I was speaking to the listing agent at 10 a.m. and he had 44 offers in the first hour. Wow. I'm like, geez. And this is on a commercial space, right? So
what area was that in, Scott, if you don't mind sharing? Like, what area was that? Like
that was in Belleville.
Wow.
I know, Belleville. Like
insane.
2 years ago, it would be 44 days before you got an offer. Now you got 44 offers on the first day.
So no, it's a competitive market, guys. It's ultra competitive. The GTA is it's starting to become reminiscent of 2016 yet again, and we're in the middle of a pandemic, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But at the same time, it does. The pandemic has slowed down construction and the fresh input of supply. So now we're going to see us paying the price for that, and coupled with monetary policy that's here to boost and not let the economy fall apart. That's why we're seeing this. It's very, very simple. Cheap money, no supply, and buyers still need to make moves, and users and investors alike. So it's not like we have all this choice and all these options. We don't. So we have to be cautious. We have to be more diligent than ever as investors. We have to really analyze and use the tools we have. And I know, Scott, you're going to be talking about a really cool tool that you put together. And I definitely want you to cover that because it makes a difference. You can't have Simi and Jas or Scott behind you every step of the way, but you can have tools that have been approved by us, meaning Like if I know a tool works and it's going to not make me miss steps in my due diligence process, that makes a big difference. Then you can have us in your pocket. You can have, that chirping voice saying, hey, did you miss this? Did you look at the tax roll? Did you verify the rent roll? What are the comps? Are these people staging these rents? Whatever the case may be. So it's a time to be more diligent than ever because of the competition and because of the emotions can get created, and investors cannot afford to be emotional. That's kind of where I want to put it. Scott, what are your thoughts on how to purchase in this market?
Yeah. So the good news is I got 2 resources for your folks here that they can use, both of them free. And, for anyone that's got a little bit of confusion or looking for clarity on the real estate investing front specifically, these tools will be game changers. I think, the first and most interesting thing is that I released a software platform in the App Store, which is basically, an evolution of how I've been analyzing properties for 20 years. It's called the Real Smart Deal. It's available in Android and iOS. So, whether you've got an iPhone or any other Android, you can use it. But basically the goal here is to allow people to compare apples to apples. I think you guys know, I know, and a lot of our investors in our network know that, not every property is the same, and people have tons of questions. How do I take this into consideration? Should I buy that? Everyone's asking, should I buy this property? And the truth is, let the math tell you if you should buy this property. And what should you be taking into consideration? Well, we've basically accounted for all the things you should be taking into consideration. And also what I like about the way I analyze properties and what I've put into this app for people is that you can reverse engineer what you should be offering. So it's kind of like you can start with list price and work your way through and see if it cash flows and see if there's opportunity for forced appreciation. But you can also go the opposite way and put in all the data and then reverse output what is the highest possible offer before I go into negative cash flow, which is nice because we all know list price is just a suggestion. And I love
that you said that, Scott, because we say it all the time that the listing price is irrelevant. Some of them are listed too low, some of them are listed too high, right?
Right. When people are like, oh, I can't buy anything, everything's listed too high. I'm like, well, then offer what makes sense. So don't stop crying, just put in your offer. I don't even worry about list price, you see it, but I look at the property, I'm like, gosh, this would be interesting. I'm looking at a property right now that's listed for 3.9 million, which is too high for what it is. And so I was using the app this morning. I punched in what is my possible income, what are all my expenses, I'm like, at 2.6 million, this thing could work, right? So I said, I'm basically looking at this, I'm thinking maybe I'll put in an offer for 2.4, 2.5, see what happens. I don't care that it's listed for 3. If they take my offer at 2.4 or we settle at least under 2.6, then I've created an opportunity. So the good news is, anyway, if for the folks listening, Real Smart Deal, you can search for it at the App Store. We are giving out the full pro version for free right now for anyone who signs up. We're doing that for the next kind of 30 to 40 days, just to let people kind of explore. And, there's always a free version of it, which will give you, if you're a first-time investor, there's enough tools there for you to use it. If you've got a huge portfolio, you may want the pro version, get into some of the more high level applications and use it as something to manage dozens of properties. But
can you talk a little bit?
That's a good resource, Simeon. If anybody's kind of curious, I always say, do your own homework before you go to the agents. Like, it's nice when people come to you guys and they're like, hey, here's this property and here's why I'm putting in an offer at this price. And then at the same time, what they're doing is they're showing you what they're looking for. So now you guys can shop it around. And we've been using all the same metrics, the 3 of us, for years now. But that's because we're aligned and we've done so many deals together.
Yeah. So what I will say to that point, because it's a really good point, most agents, and I will say 85, 90% of agents are not investment-focused realtors.
Correct.
So it's not a matter of, we're not ragging on realtors to say, but if you're an investor specifically, and you reach out to a residential realtor, he's no different than you. A residential realtor is a professional marketer of homes, meaning she knows how to market the home to sell. Yes. An investment-focused realtor is going to give you advice on how to structure your portfolio, the things you should be looking at, due diligence. So if you're not working with an investment-focused realtor, you might as well not call your realtor because there is no value there. Make sure you're focused on finding the right resources. This app is going to get you through the ABCs, then focusing in and building your team, as we've said 1 trillion times, and having investment-focused accountants, investment-focused real estate lawyers, investment-focused realtors is going to be crucial to anyone's success. But these tools can get you right off the foundation and get you going. So I love it. It's great. And I think, Tyler, if we can just get that, the app's name into the comments below to our REC insiders. If you have a moment, download it. Give us your feedback over the next couple weeks, and we'll get that over to Scott. If there's something that you don't like, if there's something you love, this is the feedback. This is where you matter, because the product is going to develop based on your feedback. So if you find it amazing, let Scott know, because then he's onto something. If you find a kink or something in it where you're like, oh, I wish I could get this in here, let him know, because he'll speak to his developers and really put a true value proposition into the marketplace. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And I want to take a step back as well, Scott. Like during the lockdown, like early, call it lockdown back in March, April, May of 2020, comparing it to now, has your strategies changed? Are you sticking to the same type of investment strategies? I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are, and if your strategies have changed even before COVID. Like what is different now in Scott's head when he's looking at properties?
Well, I think, going back to March, that was March and April were really uncertain times. Like it was hard to even get into a property because most people were just like, I don't know what to do, or, we don't have the right protocols. I was going around. I have a picture of my wife and I back in March. We were looking at properties. We were wearing gloves, masks, face shields. We had there were stations set up outside of the properties, but there was no one around. It was pure ghost town. Like we went to go look at 10 properties in one day, and it was like agents were in their cars yelling out lockbox numbers because they were scared to go near us. It was scary, right? And it
was bizarre.
No one knew what to expect.
It was bizarre.
It was very weird. I remember we were looking at vacation properties specifically, and the agent was basically pulled up in her car, and she's like, okay, I'm not supposed to give you the lockbox code, but sanitize your hands and then get the lockbox, open the door. You guys go in. Then when you come out, I'll go in. And we're all in I'm basically wearing a hazmat suit because we had no idea what's going on. But it's interesting because I said to my wife, I said, gosh, I'm like, things are shut down right now. I've seen this happen twice before where not pandemics, but where the market went, basically the market closed. Like in 2008, everything just hit pause. Even in 1999, 2000, when everyone thought the world was going to end because the tech bubble was bursting and they thought the clocks were going to all shut down.
Remember that Y2K?
Y2K. Remember Y2K? I was like the greenest of green. I had one investment property. And I remember talking to people. They're like, you should sell it, man. Y2K.
I wanted to smack people right out.
Down. It was just ridiculous. Looking back, I'm like, wasn't so ridiculous. Everyone's like, you should sell your property because of Y2K. But literally for a month leading up to Y2K, nothing was happening. Nobody was listing. Everyone was hunkering down. People were leaving the cities and celebrating New Year's in remote areas and off the grid because they thought the cities were just going to blow up. So here we are again, and we're going to look back at this in 10 years and say, remember that pandemic when we were all crazy lockdown? Well, so it was there was a slight familiarity to it when it first happened in March. And I said to my wife, I said, this is an interesting time to kind of get really active. And so I was putting in March and April, I probably put in 30 or 40 offers.
Wow.
I ended up getting a lot of the properties. I got almost 100 units that I purchased.
Within the 2 months, 2-3 month period?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
I'd say March, April, May, probably. I think we're at 72 new. I added 72 new units, full units. A few apartment buildings. I bought a resort. I bought like another like what they called a compound. I bought a whole bunch of lots. I didn't buy any residential properties or condos, although I was debating it. And that's not because I don't think they're good investments. It's just because I forbid myself to do it.
And all the properties you did buy, are those all for further development?
Not all of them. I mean, some of the buildings needed, the cap rates were good on the buildings. The one landlord I bought 2 buildings from, he basically was like, oh my gosh, they had announced that you couldn't evict anybody, right? That was one of the things. They're like, you can't evict anybody. Yeah. There was a moratorium on evictions. And so this landlord's like, oh my gosh, none of my renters are going to pay. I got to get out of this business. Sold 2 buildings off, and I got them at a 7.2% cap rate, which is really hard to get. And that was at their current rents. We've been able to, I've already gone through and upgraded a whole bunch of the units, and we've increased the rents by a few $100s per unit. So you can create value right there. I mean, they're appraised at a 4.5% cap. Plus, I've increased the rents. So the building's values have almost doubled, which is wild. And the market has helped as well, like between the market being pushed up, cap rates coming down, and increasing the rents to further push those valuations. Those were huge slam dunks. And believe you me, I mean, I was hoping people would leave. I'm like, I hope people leave because I can fix up these units and rent them out for more. Also, some vacation properties. I bought a whole bunch of vacation properties and a resort. I bought a resort, which is wild.
And where's this? Like, where's the vacation properties as a whole? Like,
so most of them are Trent Lakes, Kawartha Lakes, Halliburton, that area. I almost got a great spot in Muskogee with 22 waterfront properties. It kind of went on hiatus, and I mean, look I'm still working on it. It never sold. But outside of that, these other 12 waterfront properties with the resort. The interesting thing with the resort, and I'm still deciding what to do with it, is that I could subdivide it into 11 lots and sell them as waterfront lots, right? Which each lot now has probably up 30% from March or April.
Yes.
But because I bought it as a whole resort, obviously no one's like, resorts and hotels are not what people want right now, which is I buy what people don't want. That's my favorite thing. I'm like, oh, you don't want resorts? You don't want hotels? I'm interested.
Well, I hope people are catching that, right? The whole mindset, like when everyone was scared, there wasn't as many investors and purchasers out. Like when you were speaking about March, April, May time, that's when you went real hard. You started throwing offers and while everyone was scared and fearful, that's when, for a lack of a better word, you got
show
greedy.
You this guy. This is what I'm working on this weekend. 43 lots. 43 lots. Because the challenge with lots right now, it's almost impossible to buy anything that's turnkey because people want to start using things right away. They're like, I want to buy a cottage. I want to get to that cottage. I want to buy a house in the suburbs and I want to move into that house right away. But lots and things that are under development are definitely still an opportunity because you need to still do something with it, right? Like people aren't flocking to vacant lots. So there's still a lot of value there. And, this is something that I'm probably going to do next week is get on top of these 43 lots and start developing them.
Well, what I'll say is that's where all the value is, Scott, because not only are people not flocking, you're actually manufacturing the product that is in short supply. So this is the time for the savvy investor to join forces with other savvy investors and really look into getting into those baby steps into development and asking around and really figuring out how to slowly get into development, because buying land banking is what's made trillions of dollars all over the globe since the beginning of time. It's the people who create the opportunities that have the biggest spread, for sure.
I think the challenge, Simeon, is that, there's a lot of options and people are confused. So that's why, I said at the beginning of this call, I wanted to make sure that your listeners had two resources. One is something that they can analyze the properties with, which absolutely they can. But the other thing too is that I'm doing some free sessions, as you guys know. We can talk about the summit that's coming up as well. I know a lot of your listeners are Keyspire members, but one of the probably the most, I don't know, I guess one of the highest value things that we've done at Keyspire over the years is offer people a really simple way to figure out how to start investing in real estate. Like, what do I do? The answer to what do I do now is what people are looking for. And on Tuesday, I'll be doing a free session with Keyspire. So you can basically sign up for that at incomepropertyformula.ca, which will take you right to the landing page. I'm going to do an hour session. It's very structured. So I'm going to get straight to it and say, here's what you need to do if you want to start investing right now. And here are some of the competitive advantages you will have if you do it this way. So that I do that at lunch on Tuesday, and I'm doing one, as I said, this Tuesday. And so if anybody wants to come to that, it's completely free.
We can share the link with a thank you email to all the people who register. We'll put it on our Facebook page as well.
Yes.
So Ty will get the exact spelling and provide the link. And everybody who is looking to get started, take advantage of this generous offer. Great job.
And people need resources right now. So that's why we're offering the deal analyzer for free. That's why I'm offering this session for free on Tuesday. So really just kind of navigating people through what they need to do to start building their portfolios, because I hear a lot of people saying the market's too crazy. Meanwhile, in the last 11 months, I've added, more doors and properties to my portfolio than I have in the last 3 years.
Now, Scott, in your over 20-year career that you've been doing this, and you coach thousands upon thousands of investors, what's some of the biggest mistakes you've seen newbie get investors, but also guys and gals that have maybe 3, 4, 5 doors and they're trying to get to the next scale, the next set of doors? What's some of the biggest mistakes you've seen them make?
Well, I mean, I think you guys will recognize this as well, because you're very investor focused, and a lot of people have the mindset of, I don't want to say I can do it myself, because you do need to have some of that I can do this myself, or at least I can do this gusto in order.
But hang on, are you telling me the income properties that you did on the show, you don't do those all in 22 minutes?
Yeah, you can't actually renovate an entire investment property in 22 minutes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I thought you had that superpower. You were able to do that.
23 minutes maybe, but not 22.
Okay.
But the thing is that real estate investing has been around for thousands of years. This is not a new business. This isn't, social media. This isn't all of these hypes that people see. This isn't like buying stocks like GameStop and cannabis, like a new shiny. Everybody's always interested in what's the newest and shiniest thing. Whereas I'm like, what is the most tried, tested, and true? What is the oldest business in our economy? And real estate investing has been around for thousands of years. Even the word landlord is like a prehistoric word. It was the lords of the land who controlled the taxes and the rents they charged from people living on it. So to me, if I'm thinking not only about myself and not only about how do I make $1 today, but how do I change the financial legacy of my family, and how do I generate true wealth and security? So real estate is the right place. But the challenge is people get into it without enough qualified information. And just about anyone can buy one property. You can go out and buy a property right now, take the equity from your home, use it as a down payment, kind of leverage yourself to the ends of your means. And you're like, ba-boom, I have a second property. I'm a real estate investor. And my first reaction to that is typically, no, you're a real estate speculator because you have done no math. You have no plan. You have nothing. You just basically leveraged what you could and tried to copy what you see. I think a lot of people focus on results. They see what someone has and they just try to acquire it as quickly as possible. And you know what I'll spend a little bit of time on Tuesday in that session doing is letting people know that this is, you know, when I go out and I buy 100 units, it's because I've been doing it for 21 years. And the first year that I did it, I was nervous. I was petrified. I did the math a million times. I overanalyzed and you know, that buying that first property has to be really strategic. And if you get into 1-2 properties and you're negative cash flow on both, and you've used all the equity in your house, getting you beyond that is going to be almost impossible. So I think the answer to your question, Jas, is if you learn how to buy your first property correctly, it should get easier to buy more properties. If you're the type of person who's finding it more and more difficult, the more properties that you're purchasing, you're doing it wrong. You're backing yourself into a corner that is going to be very difficult to mine your way out of. You know, I have people that come up to me and they're like, hey, I bought a property and we used all the equity in our house and we're maxed out on our credit and it's got negative cash flow, but it's in a great spot and we think it's going to do well. And we got a great rate because we signed a 5-year mortgage. And I'm like, great. We'll see you in 5 years, right? Meanwhile, I can take an investor over here who has bought nothing, show them how to buy 10 properties in the next 5 years, and they'll end up 10 times better off, if not more, than the person who went out and tried to figure it out without the right resources and calculations and guidance. So you're right. Getting one property is not what the goal is here. Getting a system together that allows you to buy multiple properties.
It's a business.
A business, yes.
Now, Scott, the strategy that you took, because there's people that are watching right now and listening that haven't seen you before, don't know your story. You started niche. Did that, like, looking back now, 21 years later, 20 years later, was that a big part of your success? Because you started kind of niche, you went after student rentals, and correct me if I'm wrong, and then started to scale out. You started then move in, like what I call go up the investment property ladder. Looking back, is that what you would still advise to the younger Scott? Like, yeah, stick to the niche and then kind of start working your way out?
I think it depends on your comfort level. I really, buying my first property was so far outside my comfort level, I really didn't have any other choice. You know, you go from being a young person who's super conservative, that doesn't have the resources or the support. I didn't even have the education in real estate. I was a Bachelor of Commerce student, business student. And, you know, I didn't have help from friends or family. I borrowed. In fact, I used my final student loan installment as my down payment, right? And my renters were my friends who lived in my house. And I only did it because it was cheaper than paying rent. Owning a house, I could live in for free if I rented out all the other rooms. But if I had to rent, then I had to pay rent. So it was actually cheaper for me to buy a house than to rent a house. I think for me, I was the type of person that I needed to have verification before I could take the next step. Like buying one house, I needed to make sure that it was working. I had to verify that the math was correct. It took me at least a year of living there before I was like, wow, not only did this work out according to plan, it worked out better because the property went up in value, which I hadn't anticipated. I was just like, you know, making mortgage payments, covering expenses, and free rent. That was my original goal. And then it was like, oh, and the market went up 8% and you've made, you know, another 15 grand on equity. I was like, what? Pardon me. And then I was like, wow. And I can increase rents. Okay. And my mortgage rates are going down. So my cash flow's good. It's like, all of a sudden I'm like, holy cow, this gets sweeter. I found ways to sweeten the deal. So then I bought 2 the next time round. I used the equity from that property to buy 2 more. And I was like, let's see if I can do this times 2. but I was still really nervous. The first 2 years, after 2 years, I had 3 properties and they were all student rentals. But that was my comfort zone. I'm like, now I know student rentals. I see how this works. I get my tenants before I buy my properties. I was still super conservative. And listen, looking back, I could go back and say, I wish I'd bought 100 properties that first year, but I could have blown up in my face. So I wouldn't say I have regrets. I would say the biggest advice I would have for myself 20 years ago was you need to surround yourself with people who understand the model. And instead of learning through trial and error, I should have learned from working with professionals. That's something that I would say I missed the mark on, because at that point I would have been exposed to a wider variety of investments, and I would have been a little more comfortable. I think, that kind of social proof of seeing other people do things is critical. And I didn't know anyone who was a real estate investor. And it wasn't until I had lots of properties, like maybe 7 or 8, that I started to meet other people who had lots of properties. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's other people doing this. And I was learning tricks of the trade. And they're like, yeah, you like student rentals? You should try multi-units. I'm like, multi-units? What's this multi? 2 units, 3 units, basement apartment. I'm like, I can do basement apartments. I'm renovating these things. Make it, instead of just doing 2 bedrooms, let's do a whole apartment. Started doing 2 units. And then I was like, 3 units, 4 units. I'm like, let's do 4 units, right? And then it was vacation properties. I'm like, wow, vacation properties, pretty sweet. They were cheap at the time. And that's when everything was changing from posting a classified ad in the newspaper. That's how you used to rent short-term vacation properties, to posting everything online. And all of a sudden the market was expanding.
And your phone's ringing off the hook in 2 seconds.
You're getting email every day that you open your email. You're like, oh my gosh, look at how many people are interested in renting this. So, like looking back, there's so many elements to growing your comfort zone and your confidence level, and getting confirmation that the things that you're doing are working, right? Tracking it drives me nuts when I ask people, I'm like, so how's your portfolio? They're like, good. I think it's doing well. What do you mean you think it's doing well? Come on. Your number one thing as a business person is to understand exactly where you are at any given time, and to set up your parameters. Once you have this much equity, you should be using it as a down payment on another property, and you should always be optimizing. So, but I get it. Like, the tools aren't out there. There's not a lot of places that you can go to get really good qualified information for real estate investors. You have a ton of what I call basement gurus. You get these people sitting in their basements who've read a book and they think that they're like superstars and they've got all the answers, but they really haven't done anything. They don't have the
market
history.
data. Market data.
Yeah, the best real estate, and probably the best information I find in real estate are from people who aren't talking about it. They're out there just doing it. They're like, why would I share this information with anyone? I live in this middle world between, I'm a real estate investor, but I also in the media, and I have the TV shows and have this massive following of individuals through social and digital that are asking for information. So I do feel beholden to continuing to provide that information, whether it's through the TV shows or through my Instagram or my Facebook sites. It's like, come on, ask your questions, and either myself or my team will do our best to get the information for you.
We're very grateful for all the sharing that you do. Why don't you touch on the podcasts that you started? What can listeners expect from this podcast? First, what's the name of it? Where can people find it? And then what can listeners expect?
Hey, you guys were here's why I'm following in your footsteps, gentlemen. You guys have been doing the podcasts for a while. I really, looked at podcasts a few years ago, and I was just like, why? I'm swamped, right? Like, I can't even keep up with the TV shows. Why would I add something else to the list? But it did build up there was a lot of pent up demand for content in that space, because I pushed it for years. And then my team in March, we were running triage. Obviously, it's like, okay, we can't film right now, and we can't do live events right now, and all of your personal appearances are canceled, and all your sponsors are like, what the heck are we going to do? and we were worried about losing, in full transparency, I have a lot of fulfillment and obligations for sponsors and endorsements that have to do with me being at a presentation or on stage or at a home show or whatever it might be. And instead of trying to refund everybody and saying, okay, we're going to just, since I won't be able to do the home show, we'll just cancel all that revenue that we were going to generate. My team's like, why don't we launch the podcast that we've been talking about for years and see if anyone's interested in participating? I said, all right, well, if I can do it from home by myself, I'll do it. Like, I can do it right here. I'm sitting right in the spot where I film it. And so we looked at, kind of scoured our social and digital platforms and said, what are the, top 10 things people want to know the most about? And let's interview somebody. Or Scott, if we can't find someone, I'll just do it myself. And we went in, all the sponsors were like, yes, we want to do this. We would still need exposure. We'll do a podcast instead of a live appearance. Let's do it. Everyone was excited. So I did it. We launched the podcast, The Real Estate Rebel, which is, again, it's available anywhere you can get a podcast. And it was shocking. We launched in our first episode, we were in the top 100, which was great. We were like number 97. And then by the fourth week, we were number 4 in the space. And we've been bumping around in the top 5 ever since. And, we're getting about 200,000 streams per episode, which is wild. I was like, wow, people really are consuming this content. Like, that's how many viewers I'd get on an episode of my show, 200,000 viewers a week. The fact that we went to 200,000 streams that quickly shocked me as well. So, and then now it's, my team is basically like, so we're going to keep doing podcasts, and we have, a list of people that want to be on the podcast, which is great. And we've had some great, interviews. A few weeks ago, I was talking with, the guys from Bigger Pockets, who have really been doing a great job. So then I went and did 3 podcasts with them. And then we had Grant Cardone on this season. We have just a great lineup of people who are aspirational and real estate investors. And it's refreshing to hear.
So that Brandon from Bigger Pockets is an awesome resource, down to earth guy. Grant, he delivers such a big punch and so much value in what he says. A lot of people are big fans or hate the style because he has such a distinct style and like that loud approach.
He's shameless.
Yeah. Some people appreciate it, some people hate it, but regardless, there's huge value. So I actually have only heard one of your podcast episodes, and I only do podcasts in the car, and I did truly enjoy it. So I'm going to be trying to get some more of that content in. And if ever there is an opportunity, there would be nothing I would love more than to hop on and chat real estate with you. So just put that in your little black book. And whenever you run out of cool people, you can come to this guy right here.
Absolutely, Simeon. You're on the list. We're filming season 3 next month. So end of March, we'll be filming season 3. We got, I think, 12 episodes lined up.
Awesome.
Tyler, make sure that we put the podcast name. It's The Real Estate Rebel. Let's put that in the comments. You can download that on any podcast platform, the iTunes, the Spotify, the Stitchers, all of that, the podcast addicts. All you got to do is search it wherever you listen to podcasts. Not only will you have Scott on TV, but you get to have him in your ears while you drive or you take your dog for a walk, or if you're on the treadmill, you can make sure that you're getting all that content and information in. Scotty, I have a question for you, man.
Hit me.
You're up to a lot. How do you get it all scheduled out and figured out? Like, I'm kind of more asking from an entrepreneurial tip perspective. How do you kind of get it all figured out, man, in your schedule?
Oh my gosh. Well, that's, I'd be lying if I said it's all figured out. I like keeping myself busy. I'm not the type of person who, I see people who are like, oh my gosh, when people are like, it's the weekend, thank God it's Friday. And I'm like, Oh my gosh. Who cares what day it is? You should enjoy what you're doing every single day. If you're the type of person that on Friday is like exhaling and can't wait to shut it all down, then you're not doing what you should be doing. That's my first piece of advice. I laugh sometimes, and I get it. Like different people in different roles, and I have a lot of people that work for me in different elements, and I get it. They're like, "Oh, it's Friday," and I'm like, "Great, all right, this." They're like, "Okay, we'll start it on Monday." And in my mind, I'm like, "I'll be working on it all weekend," but I don't ask anyone else to do that.
The weekend means nothing.
A week to me, I'm like, the weekend is just time for me to get ahead of everybody else who's not doing anything. I'm like, well, you are sitting at home doing God knows what. I'm going to buy a bunch of houses. I'm going to, record a podcast. I'm going to do some interviews with you guys. I'm going to work on refining my app and do some research on seeing if anybody wants any upgrades done to it. I'm going to work on my presentation for my income property formula presentation on Tuesday. I just like doing all these things. So in terms of scheduling, don't get me wrong. There's absolutely certain things that are important to me that I get in there, like spending time with my family. Like we've got lots of things we love doing together, and when I'm with them, I want to be focused on us. But I think if anything, this recent pandemic has taught me that I was maybe trying to go around and do too many things all at once, fly every weekend, flying to a different city and taking meetings and presentations. I'm like, maybe I'm done with that. Maybe I'll never get on stage again. I don't even know. Like, was it really worth it? Like the business model has not changed, right? I'm like, I can do 10 presentations from my office in a day instead of 10 weekends flying all over the world, or all over North America, at least, to do it. So I feel like it's allowed me to optimize my time. And although a lot of people hit pause, I kind of hit fast forward during this pandemic and said, I'm going to speed things up and figure out a new way so that when this is all over, I'm not going back to normal. That would be a complete waste of a pandemic. My goal is to get back to better.
The truth of the matter is, for us, we've never done more.
Yeah.
The last year has it not accelerated everything we've done like 5 to 10x?
And it's 10x.
And it's because of scalability of not having to leave.
Yeah.
So it's really put the commute, the travel, the business travel, and the logistical things that we had to figure out, which is complete nonsense and not revenue generating, out of the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in my home office.
Yeah.
My daughter is on her piano right now.
I'm surprised my kids haven't showed up in here yet. They're running around.
But and would that matter? And this is what I mean. Like, we're able to do and deliver value to our communities to fulfill our own wants and needs. I want to be here. I want to talk real estate Saturday morning. There's no agenda here. This is what I love. So we're putting value into our community. We're hanging out doing what we love. In 4 minutes, I'm going to have my daughter in my hands instead of being in Vancouver right now and having to do a WhatsApp video. Do you know what I mean? Like it's good. It's good.
There's a silver lining to everything, right? Never. What they say is, don't let a tragedy go to waste. Nope. And by that, it means we've got an opportunity to learn something here, and everyone's been affected in different ways. And, there's some really unfortunate circumstances out there. And I feel for the people who are going through some terrible times during this. But there's also, the opportunity to focus on maybe what's more important or what's most important, and coming up with a new way of doing things after this. So that's really where my head has been at, trying to be safe and trying to make sure that, health is number one, make sure everyone's healthy and be smart and be compliant. But also make sure that you come out the other end of this stronger, better, more efficient, new goals. I've like I really say that I'm hoping that when I look back in 10 years and people are like, hey, remember the pandemic? What did you do? I can say I was game changing my my future during that pandemic, and I came out
and
of
other
that.
people's future, because as a leader, I think you have a very big influence in your community, Scott, and I think you can look back and say that you took steps to make people's lives better. I really do. And I feel the same for myself. I'm not saying it for shits and giggles. I go out of my way and try to make people around me better. So,
question came in the comments, and you might have covered this, Scott. Is the app available on Android as well? It's not just an iOS app, is it?
No, it's both.
It's both. Okay. So to Johnny Lombardo, yes, it's available on Android. Someone else asked, is it available to the Keyspire? Is this announced to the Keyspire community? Well, Scott announced it today, so you can definitely go download the Real Smart Deal. Is it the Real Smart Deal, Scott?
It's a good. I think it's just Real Smart Deal app.
Real Smart Deal app, either on Android or iOS.
I'm gonna look it up
about 5-6 years ago, you coined, don't try to time the market, put time in the market. Everyone in the comments right now is going crazy about I buy what people don't want. So
I buy what people don't want. That's what I do.
There might be a Scott McGillivray meme coming out soon.
It's true. I mean, I'm usually not the one rushing to buy something that's just listed. I kind of keep an eye on things. And when I see something's been around for a long time, I go and I take a deeper look at it. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe there's something that other people have missed here. And maybe there's a solution I have for the seller that's going to make sense, right? That's awesome. Don't discount the fact that properties that have been listed for a long time also have opportunities on them. So,
all right, Scott, can you leave our? You dropped a lot of gems, a lot of fire today, but leave our viewers and listeners with one tip from an investing perspective. I mean, just like a mindset perspective. I leave it to you, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big aha moment that has been coming out of all the things that I've been trying to do is the idea of, we are all in a strange time right now, and the vibe out there is to stop. Everyone's just saying stop. Quarantine in place or shelter in place, whatever you want to say. Which I understand, stop going out and, interacting and all that stuff, but don't stop your life. If anything, invest in yourself, whether it's, you can take an online course, you can,
love that so much.
There's free resources, right? You guys offer so many resources. It's phenomenal what you do. That's why I like, coming in and participating with you guys from time to time. We've got a great track record of, I probably can't even count the amount of people that we've made hundreds of thousands of dollars through the opportunities investments that we've brought to not only Keyspire members, but people of the general public. And it all comes back around. It really does. My goal has always been, put it out there, help as many people as possible. And if just a few of those people come back and bring you something, you will have an abundance of opportunities, right? If I can give people the tools to analyze their own deals, I know that's going to come back. Someone's going to be like, I've been using your app and here's something huge I want to do with you, right? Even since I launched Real Smart Deal, I have I've got a guy that does, I now have a guy that does IPOs and fintech. Wow. And he's come to me and he said, hey, he's like, I've been using this smart deal of yours and it's great. We've got a couple rental properties. He said, and the investors that I work with are wondering if you'd like to go public with this at some point. And I'm like, see, right there, I put it out to the universe. I didn't even know. I was just trying to help people. And now somebody's going to help me turn this into a different business model, which I absolutely love. We do income property formula.ca, which is where I do you can sign up for my free training sessions, which are very strategic and very formulaic, obviously. But I do those every 6 weeks or so, with the next one being on Tuesday. And you would be amazed at how many people come through that portal and then become members of our network, and they invest in other products that I may have. They might partner on a real estate development deal that I do. And I'm like, see, I help these people make lots of money, and now they want to invest that money into one of my projects. Like it comes full circle. And even the podcast, right? We talk about the third resource that I want to make sure people have access to. And all these things are free. Get the app for free. Come to incomepropertyformula.ca. I'll give you a free session there, and listen to the Real Estate Rebel podcast. It's all free. And there are so many nuggets, like the people I have met through doing the podcast even, and the connections that I've made. I'm basically, now my brain is going crazy. I'm like, if I collaborate with these people, it's going to be insanity. So put it out there. Do what you need to do to focus on yourself, invest in yourself, and make sure that in 6 to 8 months from now, when everything is opening back up, that you're getting back to better, not back to normal.
I love that. I could not agree with you more. Put what you want out there, why you want it. Don't spend too much time on how it's going to happen, because I like Scott mentioned, it all came back to him in so many different angles. Scott, you are an amazing, amazing person, my man. You're so free with your time with us, and we appreciate it so much. Looking forward to doing a lot more with you in the future. I know our insiders thoroughly enjoyed this. Make sure to go check out the Real Smart Deal app. Go to incomepropertyformula.ca. Do that right now, guys. It's free. It's happening Tuesday. Don't leave it for the next couple of hours. You'll forget, and then Tuesday will come and it will happen. And so just go to incomepropertyformula.ca, get registered. What time is it happening? You said noon on Tuesday, Scott?
Yeah, I'll do trying to do it in a lunch hour. We've got some bonuses on there as well. As soon as you register, we're going to start sending you a few things. I was just talking to Michael, my business partner there, and he's like, hey, I got all the bonuses up for people registering. So you'll get those right away. And then Tuesday is the session.
Big shout out to Mr. Michael Saracini as well. I'm not sure if he's watching or not, but I know he would just want to jam pack it with a lot of bonuses as well.
Those guys are busy planning. They have a huge summit coming out.
Yeah, Michael's a little busy, I'm sure, coming up.
He's busy. We have our summit next weekend, so we're all getting prepared for that. I'm working every weekend still.
That's awesome. 100%. We're very excited about the summit next weekend. We just finished everything up. We're prepared. We're ready to rock. I think there's a little over 500 to 600 people joining the summit this weekend. Is it something like that, Scott?
Yeah, we have, I want to say almost 600 confirmed already.
Okay.
And for the 3 days, which is wild. These are folks who are actively investing and going through all the platforms. I'd say I was just talking to Michael. He's sending me texts as we go. And he said, we have 5,000 people registered for Tuesday already, which is wild. So there's lots of people interested in the real estate space. And there's really no reason why you shouldn't figure this out. With all these resources, everything we're talking about so far has been free. So there's no excuses, right?
And wild, yes, but not surprising when you two guys join forces and give out something of that much value for free. It's a no-brainer. It's why, like, if you're still listening to me, I like you watching me and listening. But if you have not signed up for incomepropertyformula.ca right now, I don't know why not. Like, go there right now, sign up, register, make sure you're part of this group of over 5,000 people that are going to be joining Scott, essentially giving away all his secrets, which we're very, very grateful for. Simos, my man, did you have anything else to say today?
Yeah, I'll give people a reason to go there. A reason to go there because it has to do with action. So today I'm going to go back about 60 days when I went off on taking action. And I've actually, when I do a lot of my coffees with our community, people say, oh, like back in the day, you could get money with 5% down. You could buy a property with 5% down as an investor in this and that and the other. And all I hear is meh. Every single market has an opportunity. And let me tell you something. Right now, we're living in a once in a lifetime, actually once ever, since the beginning of time, where you can borrow money at 1.5%, 2.5% for an income property. It would be almost not a disservice to yourself. You're stealing from yourself if you don't take advantage of this as an investor. So if you consider yourself an investor, my advice today, this beautiful Saturday in February, is stop the inaction, stop the reasons and excuses, the nonsense, and engage professionals who are readily available to help you. Professionals that are going to structure your portfolio for success. They're going to take what you have and you can borrow money under the cost of everyday inflation. The money is actually free. Literally. If you don't understand it, reach out to us. We'll explain it. But for you not to buy a property, given the market conditions right now, is a disservice. There's a lot of people who understand it, which is creating this seller's market. But there are markets and there are properties that you can win using smart tools that Scott was sharing, using tactics that we use every day in joint ventures. Give yourself the space you need to understand that today is the day that you're going to look inside and start moving towards taking action. That is my departing words for today.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Scott. To all of our insiders, thank you for joining. The comments are lit up right now. Thank you to each and every one of you. Tyler, making sure that you got the ones and twos taken care of in the back end for us, buddy, and you're answering a lot of those comments.
Thank you, our whole back office team. We appreciate you so much.
100%, buddy. This could not have been done without the support staff that we get to kind of stand on the shoulders of. And so thank you to all the insiders. Reach out to us if you need to be connected to any of those links in case you didn't catch them. We said them 38 times minimum. So if you didn't catch them, you probably weren't listening, but reach out to info@reccanada.com. That's info@reccanada.com. And we'll make sure we'll get all the links passed on to you. To everyone, again, have an awesome weekend. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Family Day. And we look forward to seeing you on our next brunch on February 27th.
Thank you so much, everyone. Scott, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Scott. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
See you soon.